Welcome to the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. For group exercise junkies and enthusiastic classgoers, we'll explore and uncover authentic, thought-provoking, and heartwarming industry education and inspiration from entertaining, badass fitness pros. And now your host, creator of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, Warrior Combat, Warrior Revolution, and Warrior Kids Group fitness brands, Ellen DeWord. Here we grow.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Nicole.
Hey.
We're back. We are back with I guess this is our second official nutrition bite segment of Confessions of a Group X Instructor. And of course, we have Nicole, who's our expert. And today we're going to be talking about macronutrients from a holistic nutrition perspective. So I don't know, before we dive in, did you teach today? Classes?
Today, no, I did see a couple of clients, but I did not teach today.
Yeah, okay.
But I do have to say lesson 23 is my new favorite lesson, of course. Oh.
It's so good. Oh my God.
It is so good. But then I heard you say last night on teaching strategies that you're not teaching it right now. You're working on 24 and you're doing 17, which I don't know how you keep the choreography in your head like that.
I don't. My head, that's why, remember this land. Okay. So when I sit here and podcast, just so you guys know, Nicole and I had like a 20-minute conversation before we started to record just because we're friends and we like to talk. So it takes us a while to actually push play and actually podcast. But I was laughing about the light fixture in this room because the way I sit, it looks like this jumbled mess coming out of my head. I wish it wasn't there, but it's how it is. And I was laughing about that to Nicole because there is always a jumbled mess coming out of my head in real life. I don't know how I'm keeping the choreography there either, but the lessons come back quickly. Do they for you when you revisit an old one? I'm like, I don't remember this at all, but then I look at it and then it comes back.
Yeah, it kind of does depend on the lesson and the music I find for myself. And I think part of it is just kind of the way I am. I'll pick pieces of old lessons when I'm ready to stop teaching the new lesson. Then I pick pieces of old lessons. So I don't exactly go teach all of 17, which would probably be easier for my brain to pick it back up because I learned it all together. So it's probably my way of doing it that makes it harder. But for some things, I find the strength, the weight stuff is easy. That choreography is always pretty simple.
Oh, totally. And the hit. Those are just
those are simple. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jackson high knees.
What's that?
I said Jackson high knees. Is it just, no, it's true. To the extent that now when I lead instructor trainings, I actually say to them, because also the choreography sections are, sorry, this is such a tangent, but whatever, people, put your seatbelts on. We're going to talk about macros in a second.
Instructors that are listening.
So I know they don't mind. They're like, go on, keep talking about choreography. So I think the choreography sections are butter, easy. The hit and the lift are butter. They're so easy. I think it's the sun salutations. Even though we have the signature flow and I think those are the ones that take a little bit more brain cells, so I say that.
Oh, and this is kind of fun, just as long as we're talking about teaching for the moment. My daughter took my class for the first time last week. And my second daughter, no, Amanda. I was watching her dog, and because of that, we needed a car situation, and then she came to my class.
Aww.
So she said that after she did the first hit, now I had sent her a video. I had sent her one of our marketing videos because she was like, what am I getting myself into? And I had sent her a description, but it turned out she ended up not watching the marketing video, which she ended up telling me that afterwards. But she said, after the first hit section, she goes, I thought that's what the rest of the class was going to be, and I was going to die.
Oh, that's so funny. Did she love it though? Or did she like it?
She did.
Okay.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Want to hear something cool since we're on this massive, continual tangent?
Yes.
Guess what? I did just teach. And in fact, I'm still kind of grubby, but I teach on Wednesdays Revolution and Rhythm 45. They're just both 45-minute classes. In my rhythm class, I had a woman come who was wheelchair bound. First time in my entire, like, I also have someone I'm working with. I have someone at the DAC who's been coming who's very pregnant. And so it's been really great for me, like really great, to be working with her and thinking about how to cue sun salutations and stuff for her. And then I got this curveball today. Now I have met this woman before. She's freaking amazing. I have met her before because she's been coming to my combat class. So she's been doing combat from her wheelchair. That's different than rhythm. You know,
Very,
17's
very.
17 is like the Beyonce Drunk in Love, you know, surfboard. And
Did you see my comment? You might have missed my comment last night because we were talking about our favorite flow songs, and I said what Cigar on Ice was. If you go back and look at my comment, because you've got the
I missed it. Cigar on Ice. That's right. Oh my gosh. No, I missed your comment because I obviously don't know how to lead Facebook Lives, as you can tell, because I can never read the comments. It's something to do with I don't know what it has to do with, but it's really hard for me to figure that out. I need to practice. Yeah, so anyway, that Beyonce, Cigars on Ice, surfboard, all that stuff. The flow is like plank, wild thing, fallen, triangle, forward fold. I just know it because I just taught it. Low lunge, twisted low lunge, half moon, reverse warrior. But my whole point is it's very on the ground. It's very much on the ground, that lesson. And I mean, she just rocked it. She just made it work, and I was blown away. Like, it helps that I've been working on roots, but anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, but I mean, you can't very well teach both at one time.
No, but
It's like impossible.
Yeah, it was cool. She had a service dog with her too, so I had a puppy in class. Yeah.
Oh, cute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So
Good. And you know what? Us chatting like this, the
yes.
Cigar on Ice thing, gave me a much better confession.
Oh, good.
I just made a note of what my confession's going to be on the top of my paper.
Okay, yeah, don't forget, because we also had a conversation about Alzheimer's disease and migraine headache, and Nicole well, you can tell him what you told me.
Yeah, so Ellen and I are both migraine sufferers, and it's amazing how similar that's just the situation is, which it's a horrible affliction. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I read that migraine kind of I guess destroys or impedes the white matter in your brain, and that is migraine sufferers are more likely to suffer from Alzheimer's.
Bad
news. So, I'm not surprised that it's damaging to the brain in some way, because it's like the most painful thing.
I've literally thought about, like, inflammation in the body is linked to Alzheimer's and so many other diseases. And I have often thought, how can these migraines not be damaging my brain? Off topic, can you please look at my puppy right now? Let me adjust the view.
Oh my God, I can't even stand it.
Can you believe?
I can't even stand it. He's adorable.
Him and his big balls.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're missing some opportunities for ball shots that you can't take right now.
If you follow my Instagram, you will see my dog's big balls, big pink balls, because they're always on display. He's just a puppy.
I always say, beware. If you follow Ellen on Instagram, just be forewarned when you're opening up her stories. You don't know what you might be seeing.
Mm-hmm. And if you follow me on Instagram and have opened up my stories lately, you know that this is we just lost a couple of our babies, our fur babies. Really sad, really devastating. So hard.
I have no words. I'm sorry. I have no words that would be consoling to you.
I know. I cried in my classes today, not really visibly, not really, like, not on display at all. And I just have been making a concerted effort to leave it in the car, like just really, really, really leave the the blanket of grief in the vehicle. And I knew today was going to be impossible to do that with, because I have a very close friend in class who has been out of town, who I haven't seen. So, it's just, there was no way that she, just her awareness of my situation, I knew was going to be hard. So yeah, the cool down song in Revolution, it's this beautiful song called Sanctuary. And but my head was down and we were kind of all cooling down in silence. So it wasn't really on display. And then in rhythm, this woman, this is at the Y, where I'm still pretty new, relatively speaking. And this woman, a participant, came up to me after class and she had a card and she handed it to me and I started crying because she's like kind of a stranger to me still. And I didn't know that I didn't know that they knew. Like I didn't, I'm still new there. A lot of them don't follow me online. So her kindness and the fact that she beautifully timed it till after class, almost everyone had left, but it was just her kindness and thoughtfulness. And anyway, then Nicole said to me, we can reschedule the podcast if you just want to take a day to, and I said, no, let's do it. I did have to cancel a podcast after Molly's passing. So, okay. We should dive into the heart of this episode. I'm excited as always to learn from you. And I guess maybe you should start by telling us what macros are. And, let's not take for granted that people know. And how do holistic practitioners approach macros differently?
Okay, so first of all, our macronutrients, like you said, we're not going to assume people know what they are, but protein, fats, carbohydrates. Water's not always listed as a macronutrient, but it's essential for life, obviously. Alcohol is a macronutrient as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll focus on protein, carbohydrates, and fats, but I'll just say a blurb about alcohol as well. So protein is what, it's the body's building block. It makes hormones, it makes, like your digestive enzymes, it makes all the enzymes. Reactions in your body don't happen without proteins. So enzymes are proteins. For instance, like anything that ends with an ASE, like say amylase, that's a digestive protein. Anything in your body that ends with ASE, that is an enzyme, and enzymes are proteins.
Okay.
You've heard of antibodies from your immune system. Antibodies are proteins. Your hair, your skin, that's proteins. So your body is always making proteins and always breaking down proteins. So proteins, although all of the macronutrients are essential, your body can't live obviously without having protein. So it's your building block for everything. Carbohydrates are your body's easiest and most preferred fuel source, just because it's easy to get that sugar. Everything gets broken down to sugar for energy. So that's what your body prefers, because it's easy to get that energy from carbohydrates. But we do also, our brain uses it. It uses like 25% of our energy allotment for the day is used by our brain. So our brain does appreciate to have those carbohydrates. It does help you think a little faster. There's no minimum requirement. Like there's a daily requirement for protein. There's a daily requirement for fat. There's a certain amount of water everybody should be drinking. But there's no actual requirement for carbohydrates, because your body can break down sugar from protein if it has to. It doesn't like to, but it can.
Is that what fatty oxidation means? Is that what that term means?
Well, usually fatty oxidation is coming from fats. It's like the breakdown of fats, and not so much protein. But your
Oh,
body.
I'm sorry. Okay. You were saying, I'm sorry. You were saying,
That's okay.
you were saying that the body, I prefers the carbohydrate,
Yes.
as energy source. That's like its low hanging fruit, easiest to access and use. And then you were saying it can use protein.
Right. So if the body
okay.
if the body needs sugar, it will break down protein if it has to.
Okay, so I was jumping the gun then. Then doesn't it
Yeah.
also break down fat if it needs to, or is that the last in line?
Yeah, it's just harder. It does. It's just harder. Yeah. And actually, and we kind of talked about this on our last podcast together, that fats don't actually raise your insulin level. So fat, fatty foods is
Right.
yeah, it's actually a good option to use if you're trying to control your blood sugar. So consuming fats is actually good for that.
When you were talking about the brain needing glycogen, isn't it true that when we have to think a lot, isn't it true that the brain actually does use a ton of glycogen?
It does. Yeah. And you probably remember like studying a lot in college or whatever, or doing, just doing a lot of schoolwork, a lot of brain work, you would actually get hungry more often. You wouldn't have time to do the eating because you were studying, but yeah, your brain does use a lot of, it uses 25% of your caloric needs is used on a daily basis by the brain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the macro, are they individualized? Like if you were making a plan for someone, is it different for me than someone else? Or
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, part of your original question too was like, holistically speaking, how does someone look at macronutrients versus more traditional nutritionists or fitness coaches or whatever? So we really look at how like the whole body interacts with food. It's not really about hitting a target number. Because I would talk to my clients, first of all, about their goals, but secondly, how they feel with a certain breakdown. Like our bodies are always in experiment mode. We don't know it, but when you kind of mess around with different numbers or different, different amounts of your fats, your carbohydrates, your protein, like I would ask my client, how do you feel? I give them a template of a food journal to track actually how they feel. Sometimes, especially as we get older, we're not producing as many digestive enzymes, and we don't know that, but then we find that we're having trouble digesting as much protein as we used to. But we actually need more protein as we get older, especially peri and menopausal women, because we need to be lifting heavy shit. We should absolutely, if you're not lifting heavy shit yet, please start lifting heavy shit. Because you really, muscle mass is like everything for the body's like metabolic furnace, basically, and just it's like a fountain of youth. So we should really be prioritizing protein. So back to like a one-on-one situation, if I up one of my clients amounts of protein in their plan and they tell me that they're having digestive issues, then I know that they might actually need like a digestive enzyme to help them digest the protein. So it's very, it's very individual.
Okay.
And, so some people just, I've heard so many people too, who just don't know that they'll say, well, I can't really digest red meat. It doesn't feel good. It feels like a rock. Well, actually, it's not the red meat that's the problem. It's you could have a food sensitivity. That's possible.
Okay.
But I would try digestive enzymes first and see if that helps. But everybody's so uniquely, individual in what they need. Some people want to, some people are endurance athletes and they don't necessarily want to put on a lot of muscle because it might slow them down. They would be able to consume more carbohydrates without having it stored as fat because they're going to be burning it off. So it's very, very individualized. But from a holistic perspective, we also just look at food as nourishment. We don't really break it down into like hitting these numbers, like you have to hit these numbers. I like for my clients to focus on food and how it makes them feel. And so, start with protein and plants. If you feel that you're hungry within a couple hours, you probably didn't have enough fat in your meal. That's what I would like. If I see what your meal was and you had, an appropriate amount of protein and vegetables, fiber, all of that. Most people aren't getting enough fiber. Then I would say add fats, add some healthy fat. I mean, there's going to be some healthy fat that you would have cooked with anyway, but I would say you probably didn't hit enough in that particular meal. You might need another tablespoon of butter or olive oil, which is only going to make it more delicious anyway.
Yeah. By the way, side note, put a pin in this. We should do an entire episode on fiber.
Yes.
So right, let's not forget. Okay. So, speaking of asking people to maybe add fat to their diet, like, do you come across with your clients, or can you speak to just kind of the psychology and misconceptions that, carbs are evil and fat is evil?
Yeah, talk about a whole episode. We could do a whole episode on fat for sure. Primarily, yeah, I see a little bit of both, but it's even harder. I think it's harder to dispel the fats are evil myth that seems to really have, from the 80s and 90s, that's still for sure there. People think that fat's going to make them fat.
Yeah.
And I do say, and maybe this will click in with your audience. And I got this from Sean Stevenson, so I have to give credit where credit is due.
Your friend,
my friend Sean, who I still have his voice messages.
He voice messaged Nicole once, and
not just once. I'll just say not just once, but anyway.
More than once. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, so it's like thinking that blueberries are going to make you blue, thinking that fat's going to
that's so good. I actually have not heard that from him.
Yeah. So that one really stuck with me. So blueberries aren't going to make you blue and fat's not going to make you fat. So yeah. And then the carbohydrate thing, I mean, to an extent, carbohydrates are essential, especially if you're active. And I would imagine most listeners of your podcast are active. But there's a big difference between needing, a bag of chips as your carbohydrates, or even French fries. I know that a lot of people love French fries. It's okay. Not that big a deal. Unless
I love French fries.
Hopefully the restaurants start frying them in tallow, and get away from the seed oils. But there's a big difference between having potato chips or chips and French fries versus having a sweet potato or quinoa, like carbohydrates that your body can really use that are not so processed, that also have fiber. So like things that grow from the ground, like sweet potatoes and potatoes, they come with nutrients that the body needs. Yeah. And that's why that's more important to have that than, processed carbohydrates.
And roasted potatoes with
delicious
oil. You can't, it's not, French fries are not better than that. That is life.
Delicious. So, and I mean, French fries are delicious too, but it's like, hopefully they get away from the
seed oil,
the soybean oil and all of that stuff. So,
okay. So what about people that are, like, I would actually put myself in this category. I mean, I eat pretty darn well, but I am not very mindful about, I feel like I operate relatively unaware of how I'm affected by the environment. And it's something I'd like to get better at. I also think I'm generally insensitive to like food and medication, and in a good way, insensitive, and I just feel like I don't get rashy and I don't break out and I don't have trouble digesting food. And I don't know. I feel fortunate with a lot of that, but also pretty unaware of how I feel, how food makes me feel. Although I do eat so clean that if I ever do eat garbage, I don't feel good. Right. But do you have any tips or advice or thoughts about how we could become more aware or more mindful? So you're saying like you work with your clients individually and you're asking them to like, how do they do that? Do you have them journal or what?
Yeah, so I do. I have them journal. And basically my food journal template has like, how did you feel after you ate? And then how did you feel 2 hours after you ate? So
Oh,
like, for instance, and I kind of list some things that people might feel that they might not really realize that could be related to their food. Like, was your nose running? Were your eyes watering? Now, yes, that can happen when food's spicy, but if it's not spicy and those things are happening, you're probably having a reaction to your food.
yeah.
And then of course the normal things that we would consider that would be food related, like bloated. Um, sometimes people get a headache related to their food, or they get a rash or something like that. So that's why I asked right after they ate to journal how they felt right after they ate, and then like 2 hours after they ate, because then you might see other symptoms. So that's one way that I tell people to be more mindful. Like, and you may think that's why it's so important to journal, because what happens is you end up seeing patterns.
Mhm.
Um, that's what we're trying to figure out. Like, are you reacting to food that you don't think you're reacting to? That's possible. It could also be time of day. It could be, like something just years ago, I figured out with a friend that when they sat down and like, if they drank milk with their meal, they didn't feel good, but it was something like they did that from childhood. And then as they got older, they're like, I, if I took the milk away, I felt fine.
Huh.
So it's like, sometimes it's combinations of things. And that's why it's important to track, so, and then another way to just be more mindful, this isn't really about how food is going to hit you, but it will help digestion if you sit before you eat. And I think in a prior podcast, we
Oh,
talked about,
you
and
did.
take like 10 breaths before you sit and have your meal. You will absolutely improve your digestion. There's no question. I mean, I've had people comment in your community.
I'm so glad you resaid that because you did say that before and I had forgotten. I needed the reminder. You said what?
I
People.
said I've heard from people in your warrior community at conferences and stuff that tell me that tip like
Okay.
changed their digestion.
Ten-
They get so much less bloated, or less discomfort after they eat. And it just sounds like, those silly little, they sound like too little to make a difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's those things that make the biggest difference.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good reminder. 10 breaths. We should be praying before we eat anyway. I
Well,
mean,
I think that's it. That's probably
like,
where it came from. Like, that's
yeah.
probably where prayerful
Yeah.
time before eating came from, is that it's calming down. It's actually doing a thing. It's to calm your central nervous system. We're always running, 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 and we don't digest our food as well if we're in this fight or flight state, and that's actually an instance where your digestive system isn't producing enough digestive enzymes. It's actually not going to. If you're stressed, if you're
Right.
running from here to there, standing, we shouldn't be eating standing up. We should be eating sitting down. We shouldn't be getting our dinner from a drive-through window, of course.
Yeah. Don't eat it in your car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, don't go through the drive-through either. Those are they're different points, but like enjoy food, sit at a table, have it look pretty on the plate. Thank
Yeah,
you.
when you can eat with people that you love, like when you
Yes.
can. You can't
Yes.
always, but
Yeah. That's
those people that have community and family around them, like, I think that that's something that a study showed more than anything else. People that live a long life and a long, healthy life, the main thing that came through was not so much all the diet, all the exercise that they did, but having community,
oh my goodness.
having social connections.
Mm. And pets.
I know. Yeah, pets
No, they
help.
do. They help extend people's life and improve quality of life and have our seniors out walking and getting outside and okay, I have a couple things to say on this topic before we shift to the next like kind of section. One, I started noticing about a year ago that sometimes I couldn't breathe out of my nose. It's like my nose didn't work. It was just like nothing. I couldn't breathe. It was like it was closed. And I thought I would notice it at night, always. And I'd always notice it at night. And I was like, maybe there's like dust or mold in my house. And we bought one of those fancy Costco air purifiers, big expensive one to purify the air. And it has an app on our phone and it tells us like that the air is clean or whatever. It didn't help. Anyway, it didn't help, but I'm glad I have it. Like, I'm glad I'm doing that. I'm sure it is helpful. But I started to notice that it relates to when I eat Thai food, which I eat a ton of Thai food. My youngest son works at a Thai food restaurant. You're going to have to come when you're in Eugene.
I was going to ask you, are we going?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many food places I want to take you when you're here. So we have to choose. We can't do them all. I want you to go to like 20 different places and you're not here for that many days. So, wait, Diva's calling. Let's decline. Boop. Okay.
She always calls.
She always calls. I
know she always calls anyway, but she does always call.
I know. I should have said I'm podcasting, but also we've been talking forever already. She probably, okay. So, anyway, I know it's related to Thai food. I don't know what it is. I haven't narrowed it down to like, what it is, but it's definitely the days I go to Thai food. So should I not go to Thai food? Like, I love Thai food. Does that mean that my body doesn't want it?
Well, if that's the only reaction you're finding and you're not finding that you get like a headache later or you don't have any other discomfort later, then like, no, like I wouldn't say to not have it, but your body's like, not digging it for some reason, Is it more like a when you have spicy food, your nose kind of runs?
No,
like that?
It's not like that at all. No, it's not like that at all. It is like it's like as if someone was plugging my nose. There's no dripping, running. It's just like I cannot inhale through my nose. It's like it just doesn't work.
There's some like mucosal, that's like a mucosal response that you're having there. So I mean, it probably means your body doesn't like it, but if you love it, I wouldn't say to take away any joy from your life.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to say kind of on this mindful eating sort of topic and becoming more aware of how food makes us feel. And I also have said this on a previous podcast, but like the 10 breaths, I think it's worth repeating. When I was in eating disorders hospital moons ago, I learned something that did stick with me forever, like your blueberry thing stuck with you. This stuck with me and has become such a great barometer for me to measure whether I'm overeating or not. It was transformative for me. That's just this little thing. And that is, it is okay and good to feel full and satisfied. Like there's to be no feelings of guilt around any of that. I'm getting to my point, but that's kind of a sub point. Like, and it is normal to feel full and satisfied from your meal. But if that feeling of fullness lasts more than 15 minutes, you probably overate. And that has been so helpful for me. One, to just not feel bad. Like it's okay. Like my body should feel full. I can eat. Feel full, get full, but not so much that I'm going to be an hour later, which I'm sure everyone has experienced this. Like pizza is my like downfall. Like I'll eat so much pizza. If I eat pizza, I love it so much, I lose a little bit of control. And if I eat pizza, which I sometimes do, I notice sometimes I'm full an hour later, like I'm full. Or have you ever eaten something bad or too much and you wake up in the morning and you still feel full? You probably don't because, you're you.
No, but yes. I mean, it does happen. But with pizza, it's probably like
the bread and the cheese.
And I would say almost more the bread, because the bread could be so sticky. And especially if you typically eat clean, it's like, the other thing is too, that your digestion really does slow down because your gut literally doesn't, like what we don't realize is that our gut as the bacteria that helps out a lot of our digestion. So they're actually eating a lot of the plant foods and the byproducts of what we're eating, the bacteria in our gut is eating. If you don't normally eat that stuff, then that bacteria that wants that stuff is not there. So it's just going to sit there for a while. So that's another reason why you're full.
And then what do you have any advice or thoughts about, do you work with clients that struggle with like being obsessive or too restrictive?
I try to find out through like just kind of interviewing them if they have that obsessive. Most people will come out and say like, well, I've been obsessive in the past, I've been obsessive. So it's that client where I'm, tread lightly as far as I think really with all my clients though, I don't feel like they're required to eat a particular thing or way. Like I try to approach everything just like with educating them about how food is going to nourish them and not say like, oh, you should be having this many calories a day and this much in the way of protein and this much, like, especially for a client who might have said to me that they've been obsessive in the past, I try to stay away from numbers altogether.
Right.
I also have like a meal planning software where I can choose to hide that information from them. So they don't see it. And I often will just hide the information from them because I don't think it's important anyway. So if they ask me, then I would share with them, but I don't think the numbers are so important as how you're feeling. But yes, you do need to start eating, healthier, obviously, if you need to, if you have a goal of whether it be weight loss or you just know that you're not on the right track. But just because we're not hitting numbers doesn't mean we're not eating healthfully. Like I don't want my meals to become like a mathematical equation ever. So I'm like, I never like weigh my food or anything like that. But if you have say an event or something like that you have a goal to achieve a certain thing, then that's a very short period of your life where you might need to do that. But I'm more about people enjoying their food, but just finding different ways, like, say you have bottled dressings and you've always bought this bottled dressing. And then I'm telling you, well, that bottled dressing is like, filled with canola oil. And then I teach them some recipes of different dressings. They never knew that they could make dressings at home just because it was not something they ever did, So it's more like that kind of thing that I to have my clients understand, so that once we're not working together anymore, they have all these new tools in their toolbox.
Oh, that's great. I like to just put like olive oil and vinegar on my salad.
That's typically what I do, but some people really, really love like all the different things, and I get it. And so I have a lot of different recipes, but I'm more of an olive oil vinegar person. That's me.
The irony for me has been that the healthier I've become with my eating and avoiding processed or highly processed foods, because like even like a almond butter is considered like minimally processed, right? So
it's processed.
The irony is like the healthier I've gotten actually has not diminished, but enhanced my enjoyment of food. Like I am a foodie. I love eating and I love enjoying my food. That actually motivates me to be mindful about eating. Anyway, the irony is it doesn't take away eating healthier and eating more whole foods and stepping away from processed foods, which I obviously are packed with all kinds of sodium and sugar and all kinds of shit for your body and addictive shit for your body. It doesn't take away, it actually enhances. Wouldn't you say?
I would 100% say so. And I think that there's many biochemical reasons for that, but I think primarily the reason would be your taste buds. your taste buds actually, the communication between your brain and your mouth would clean itself up when you go through that process of not eating that stuff anymore. And so it's really not clouded anymore by things that are a synthetic flavor. And like when you picked that, right, like it. Now when you don't eat it anymore and then you do have it, it is so easily recognizable that chemical synthetic flavor, and so that kind of muddies the communication between your brain and your taste buds. And by the way, the people who make the processed foods, they know that. They create taste buds in their labs, and because they do make money. Yes, they do not make money if one chip is satisfying. They don't make money if just one is satisfying. So they know that they have to get you addicted so that you will eat more. So these flavors manipulate your brain and your taste bud communication system. So I think that the reason you can enjoy food actually more when you're eating cleaner food is because your taste buds and that and your brain are communicating better the way they should. That's my thought. I'm not doing experiments over here, but that's my theory.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you ever eat poorly? Like, were you ever overweight? Did you ever struggle?
I think it's funny. I used to be overweight. Yes, definitely. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I struggled like losing weight, because once I cleaned up my diet and I started exercising, once I was doing the thing, but I started young enough so that I think that you didn't have the problems that you actually have when you get older of losing muscle mass. Now we're fighting a whole bunch of things. Then we might even be having trouble sleeping. And so so I did start pretty young. But I kind of like compare it to, there's people that they were always thin their whole lives, and then they hit a certain point. Maybe it was their 30s, or maybe they had children, or maybe it was older in life that then they couldn't lose weight anymore. But I always really had to watch what I was eating. It was always very easy for me to put on weight. Has always been easy for me to put on weight. And I compare, so that's like a good thing, like that I always had to kind of watch, because my habits are now ingrained and it's not a problem. Whereas if you live your whole life, you think you don't have to worry about it because you've always been thin. Even though thin doesn't mean health, but people think it does. So they've been thin, and then all of a sudden they're 50 and now like they can't take weight off, and you don't have those habits. You have to really learn. I compare that to the people who were always smart. I was one of those, and you never had to work until you got to college. And then you get the shit kicked out of you.
That's a good analogy.
So I know it both ways. I know from being the smart person who didn't have to work until she got the shit kicked out of her, to also being the person that very easily gained weight. So I always had to watch. So when I was 35, I didn't have to learn. I already knew. I knew from when I was 20 and I went to college and I started to like put on weight. And then, so that's what I compare it to. It's like that smart person that was always smart. And then it's like, well, you're not. So you're like everybody else once you get to college and you get the shit kicked out of you.
So how do you think like imbalance? Do you think most people are imbalanced in their macro, proportion?
I think you would probably relate to this. Like there's a certain amount of protein that we're very tuned into how much we can eat. Like when you have a steak or whatever, it's very hard to like overeat a steak. But I do think that gets a little bit deranged, if you will, once we get older and we can't digest protein as well. So I would say, people who are having trouble losing weight are probably not eating enough protein and probably eating too many carbohydrates. So if you're having trouble losing weight, I would look at your ratios, and of course you should be lifting heavy shit. If you're not lifting heavy shit, what are you even doing?
Exactly.
But yeah, I think people do, if they're not where they want to be
Just
in
ask Nicole how she feels about lifting.
yeah, I know. I always say it even to family. Like I'll say like, please tell me you've heard me say this before. I say that to people all the
I
time.
say to my warrior strength class all the time, the whole thing that I've said it on here is like muscle makes you harder to kill.
Yep.
The more muscle you have on your body, the harder you are to kill.
Yep, exactly. It does everything really. And
It does everything.
it's an excellent place to store glucose. A lot of glucose is stored in skeletal muscle.
Okay.
Skeletal muscle also helps strengthen your bones.
Do you like to lift? You love it.
I do. I'm lucky
Like
that
you're
I
a
love,
meathead. You love it.
yeah. Yeah, I do love to lift. Yeah. I don't know. It makes
I don't like love it. I don't love it. It's I'm like so glad it's a practice of mine and always has been. I'm so glad. Like if I could go back and thank my younger self, I'd be like, thank you so much for creating this habit. Yeah, I don't love it. I love what it does for my health. I love what muscle mass, I love what it does for my weight management. Like I don't really struggle with my weight. I just kind of have a natural, healthy set point that barely ever fluctuates. I used to yo-yo, and
Mhm.
but I don't love it the way I love like the other like I just love what it does, and I feel the necessity of it. Um, and I like our fun. I like what our fun things we do with it in Warrior Strength, the fun formulas and patterns and stuff like that. But it's just to me like it's the brushing my teeth. Like,
And do you like how it makes you feel when you're done though?
oh yes. And I love having sore muscles, which I'm sore every day. I'm pretty much sore every day, usually
Mm.
most days, not like overwhelmingly, like the right amount. Yes, no, I'm not. I'm just saying I'm not like a meathead.
Mm.
And it was a New Year's resolution. I also have a pretty high maintenance body, with just, I have a neck that wants to, be finicky if I lift heavy overhead, and I have a kind of an arthritic knee. And so I have to be a little careful to stay injury free. But I've been lifting heavier and heavier and heavier. And speaking of Diva, she says I have yoga muscles. I'm like, they're big. They're big.
You can't, I really think you can't tell your muscles because of your tattoos.
Oh my gosh, you
Because,
can't. No, thank you.
because I was close to you one time, like at a conference or whatever. It's like, oh my gosh, like your legs, your arms, like they're so shapely, but from far away, you just
You
can't.
can't. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
It's so true. It is the truest thing. Like someone once asked me, it was a guy, like if I get a sleeve tattoo, is it going to take my muscle definition away? I'm like, yeah, it is. I mean, I actually have like abs, and I have like cut shoulders, and actually the veins, the veins that cut across your shoulders here, all of that until I got covered in tattoos. And now you
Yeah,
just
you
can't
can't see
see it.
them.
You just don't, there isn't any shadow around the contours of my muscles that you can see. There's not contrast. So you will see my muscle definition. This is weird. If I work out in a tight, long sleeve, basically, or tight pants, tights that are like, then you can see the muscle definition. But it's weird. It really did minimize that, but that's okay. I don't care that much. I mean, the aesthetic, it was like the aesthetic of I didn't know I was giving up my muscular aesthetic when I got tattooed like this. I didn't know, but I guess I traded one type of aesthetic for another. So
I
I,
mean, it's fine.
I wouldn't
You're doing the stuff.
I wouldn't
You're
like
doing the
not get
work.
tattooed for it, but it definitely was an unexpected downside of the bodysuit tattoo, if the audience must know. Yeah, I have ab definition and all of it. Less these days because, I don't know, I'm a little
It's
soft.
harder to have as you get older and as
Yeah.
women get older.
Yeah.
The drop in estrogen causes it to be a little bit harder to maintain muscle mass, which is all the more reason to lift heavy shit.
And as you know, because we have weird side conversations about things like this, Nicole and I actually prefer a soft physique on a woman. A little belly, a little thigh, like a little. I think women look nice with a little fat on their bodies. So that's just my subjective.
Yeah, and we naturally have more. And actually, if we go too low, then horrible side effects start to happen. Like, stop getting your period, amenorrhea. If your body fat percentage goes too low as a woman, I think it's below, I don't know, 10 or 8%. But I mean, we're walking around, the healthy woman is not walking around with 8% body fat.
That's right. And as someone who has been there at 8% body fat, I can speak for my own self and say that was a very unhealthy place to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. And it was a dark place. So it wasn't, it's just, to me, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But
and we did touch on brain health a little bit before, talking about the migraines and stuff, and your brain needs fat.
Yeah.
Your brain is a good proportion of fat. So it needs fat in the diet. Mm-hmm. It needs for your need to have body fat for the health of your brain as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else? How else do macros relate? Anything else you want to kind of say on the topic of macros before we close? Anything about how I don't know, imbalances affect mood, or how people can stay consistent, or advice you have for people that are like, I mean, I know I remember like, there was this guy, he'll never listen to this podcast. It's fine if I say his name, but his name's Brian. Oh. It's not bad. He was just like the P90X format expert for a second. And I remember he was like running some program and to like help get the master trainers in better shape, I think. And he had us like all set up I don't remember the macro breakdown anyway, but he had us all download the MyFitnessPal app. This is many years ago. And I just remember he had us go into the settings and adjust our macros to like, I think you probably would give it a thumbs up. He like had us weigh up our protein and weigh up our fat and lower our carbs and start tracking things. And that's really all I remember. I'm not a macro tracker, so should I be?
No, I mean, I don't, especially knowing your background about being.
Plus give me an avocado. I'll eat the whole thing with a spoon, every drip of it, I'm not worried it's going to turn me green. But my approach, I feel like, is get as much protein, fat, fiber, and water, and colorful foods. That's kind of my general approach.
That's really great. Yep. Well, you kind of touched upon mood. Like macronutrient imbalances can have like impacts on your mood, on your like emotional well-being, because we have serotonin and neurotransmitters that are important for mood, and precursors to serotonin, like L-tryptophan. You may probably have heard of tryptophan, is in like turkey. I mean, it's in a lot of meats, it's in a lot of foods. So that's one way you want to make sure that your serotonin, like you can create enough serotonin. So you can make sure, again, you have a balanced diet. And so our foods, when you're eating real foods, you're generally going to get all the macronutrients that you need. And so again, with the serotonin and neurotransmitters, low protein can affect neurotransmitter production. Serotonin and dopamine are both important and essential for mood stability and focus. Speaking of the serotonin, this is one of the reasons why. So Ellen and I both take a similar medication when we are debilitated with a migraine, or we have one coming on. It only works with the actual migraine, doesn't work with other headaches. But the way that drug works, and this is one of the reasons I don't like to take it, is because it acts upon the serotonin in your brain so that, and serotonin is actually produced in the gut. And so it acts upon the serotonin levels so that your blood vessels will become constricted. So the issue with a migraine is that the blood vessels are widening. And so the drugs, there are other drugs that may work, but this is the least expensive, apparently. This is the one my insurance company approved for the first go round. So anyway, that being said, I didn't really want to take a medication that works on my serotonin, like that affects my serotonin levels. So there's that. So I just watch how many I may take in the course of an event of migraine. So I know it took us a little bit off course with.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind. We can go. It's my show. We can go, of course, all we want.
Yeah. So, and back to brain health, if someone's not getting enough healthy fats, I recommend for all my clients actually, because almost nobody is getting enough omega-3 fatty acids that you would get from fatty fish. So I recommend omega-3 fatty acids as a supplement for everybody. So it's important for heart health, brain health. Also, if you find that you have brain fog, like it can just definitely help with mood disorders.
Now, what omega-3? What omega-3?
Omega-3 fatty acids.
As a supplement?
Like what brand?
Yeah, I actually don't take it. I actually don't. I do try to consume a lot of fish, but I don't take a supplement. I don't take an omega-3 fatty acid.
Would you say fatty fish is something that you eat regularly? Like
salmon.
Okay. And how often?
Once a week.
Okay. I would say you probably would need.
I don't even think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think twice a month.
Okay. Because I would say if you're not having like a fatty fish like 3 times a week, then you should really be taking.
Oh my gosh, that's going to help my brain fog.
I actually to be honest, I have noticed that I get less headaches when I am consistent with my omega-3.
Do you have it in your full script shop?
I do. Yeah.
Will you put one in my cart?
I will get off this call and I will put an omega-3.
Oh my gosh, I do.
In your cart.
Okay.
So fats are also key for nerve signaling and hormone production. So that's why it's just so important to make sure you're eating enough healthy fats.
What does fish oil do for us then? Is that more
it's
for
the same thing? Fish oil and omega-3s.
I do a fish oil.
It's not the exact same compound, but they do the same thing.
I do take a fish oil. It's just a Costco one. Should I be taking a better one?
Send it to me. Send me the picture of the ingredients.
Okay. I will.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. That's crazy what you said about the serotonin and the Imitrex. I didn't know that.
That's how it acts. I mean, it does work.
It's such a mood, like it's such a mood it's such a downer. It's so hard to be happy when you're struggling with migraine, and then even and there's so much nausea and stuff that goes along with it that I just I didn't realize that it also affects that. But
I would just imagine that in the long run, it's not a good cycle to get your body on. Like, I hope when my hope is just that as I go farther into menopause, these migraines will decrease.
I've heard that from one person that I know that was a migraine sufferer like us. I've heard that after she went through menopause, she stopped having them. So,
well, my migraine started when I started menopause. So I'm just hoping when I get farther.
Oh my gosh, mine started when I was 12.
Yeah. So I got them before I was menstruating. Like I got them before I was menstruating. And then all my childbearing years, I didn't have them. I maybe had 1 or 2. And then now that I'm in menopause, now I'm getting 1 a month. So it's certainly hormonal.
Minor.
But it's a bummer.
Well, we should just call this episode Migraine and Macros.
Why don't we?
Because we did talk about migraine headache a lot. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Any other things you want to add to the topic of holistic approach to balancing macros, or do you want to dive into a confession?
Well, I'll leave you with two things. So the second thing will be my confession, but the first thing is that, and I may have said this in my other, times that we've been together, that I do believe that the body has an innate sense and an innate ability to heal itself when given the right conditions. So
I don't
that's
think I don't think I've heard you say that before
okay.
on here. Yeah.
So I'm optimistic for anybody on a healing journey of any kind that we can, look through lifestyle strategies and food and, different things that we need to pull in. We can use, I have a lot of tools in my toolbox that I think can certainly help people get on the road to recovery and feel better.
Um,
So,
wait, time out. Don't go into your confession yet. Before you do,
okay,
I was going to say something else as like kind of like tips for our amazing audience.
great.
Nicole talked about like switching up the dressing, making homemade dressing, putting it in a jar instead of buying it, in a plastic bottle from the supermarket. I think there's profound impact on making like a minuscule change like that. And I've done that to not that I'm like the epitome of health by any stretch, but generally speaking, I'm very healthy. And um I haven't always been, but it was like it's literally just like one little thing, one little thing, one little thing. It started when I was at some, 19 or something and decided to never ever have fast food ever again. And then, there was a never having soda ever again. Then there was a never having juice ever again. All those little things were just like a one little thing, like a one small thing. And and the 10 breaths that I forgot about, like incorporating something like that. So I don't know. I feel like that's going to be my one thing from this episode. My one thing is those 10 breaths. And I should just couple it with prayer and gratitude. We should be doing that anyway. So, one thing, maybe it's make your own dressing. One little thing. So
That can make,
maybe it's increase your healthy fat.
mhm, that can
Okay.
make a profound impact.
Yeah. Just
One simple thing like that can make a profound impact on your health.
the trajectory of your life, the one little thing could like literally be the difference in you getting a disease that ends your life or not. So I that's really honestly the heart behind, not to get all suddenly sentimental, but that's the heart behind this segment that Nicole and I are doing together. Just to kind of reintroduce it at the end of the show, that this is something we've decided to give you as a gift and as a service to you, is this kind of nutrition counsel and chat. So we hope it's a blessing in all of your lives. So anyway, on that, where can they find you and all that jazz?
Oh,
Facebook.
all that jazz. Okay, great. And thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure to see you and talk to you and to get to teach your audience some things. So you can find me at NicolePrinton.com. And as I tell Ellen's listeners each time, I'm happy to and always would offer you, if you tell me you listen to the podcast, 20% off of my nutrition packages. So
Wonderful. The last time we did an episode together, you guys, Nicole and I, it was about continuous glucose monitoring. That was a great episode, super fascinating. So, and she does take virtual clients. So, if you're looking for
absolutely. Yeah.
someone to help you, to lovingly help you kind of get your shit together nutritionally, she's the one. She's the one I would recommend, that's for sure. She's the one I do recommend because people come to me asking for advice, and I'm like, I have a girl, I got someone.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
then
Thank you, Ellen. I've had clients come from you and come from the podcast, so I really appreciate that.
and then your Instagram is Nicole Printon with a broccoli emoji.
I think there's broccoli there. Yeah, Nicole
I love
Printon.
it.
And Nicole Printon on Facebook as well. Yep. There's broccoli there.
It's broccoli. It's perfect. Don't ever get rid of it unless you like replace it with the avocado or something.
Oh, I'll leave the broccoli there just for you.
Okay, what's your confession?
So this is pretty funny, and we only because you were talking about the lady in the wheelchair, and it was so much on the floor in lesson 17.
Yeah.
So what song is that flow? What's it called again?
Oh, Drunken Love.
Drunken Love, and that's Beyonce?
Yes.
Okay. So I occasionally, I mean, you probably do this too, like as fitness instructors, we do this. We'll just like start singing words in a song. We may not even know what we're even saying. But I knew what they were saying. So it was during teaching lesson 17. I might have told you this story. And so I would say, cigars on ice, cigars on ice. They say cigars on ice so many times in this song, cigars on ice, cigars on ice. And I just keep, just when I'm teaching it, I say it, right? And one day I'm singing this to the class, right? They don't want to hear me sing, but I'm saying this to the class. And I'm like, what on earth does cigars on ice even mean? Do you know what it means, Ellen?
I don't.
So I mistakenly, by the way, I'm the biggest prude in the room. I mistakenly, luckily, I didn't look it up like with the class there. I went home and I decided to look up what cigars on ice means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Get the children out of the room, everybody.
Okay.
So what cigars on ice is, and I'm right now, my husband.
She looks over her shoulder.
It is when a man wakes, and it's like slang, it's a slang term, obviously. A man wakes up with a hard-on and takes a cold shower. Cigars on ice.
Oh my God.
You heard it here first.
Nobody knows that. I just want to know if people knew that, because who would know that?
Who would know that? But I'm singing it to my class and I'm going, I wonder what that means. And then I go and I look it up.
I thought it was literal, like cigars. I don't know what I thought it meant. But
now everybody that's listening to this,
it also says your breast is in my breakfast.
Yes. So if you go back
and talk about your surfboard, like grinding on that, I think that might actually not be about a surfboard. Perhaps.
Right. Exactly.
Perhaps that's about a cigar.
So I think a lot of the thing is about the morning. I think he's talking about breakfast is in my breakfast, right? So it's like, then
it's morning sex. It's about morning sex.
Exactly. So
now we know.
Cigars on ice.
Oh my goodness.
God bless. So don't say cigars on ice to your class if you don't want to talk about what it actually is.
That's the best confession. It's funny. Her other song, Cuff It. Do we use Cuff It? There's another one.
You use Cuff It in core.
And I Googled that. I was like, what does that mean? Like handcuffs? Like,
what does it mean?
Is that another like innuendo? And I can't remember, but basically they were like, Google was like, we don't know what Beyonce means by this. I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly how Google said it, but it was like some interpretations are that people think she's referring to handcuffs. I don't know. I didn't get much information. So audience, if you know about Cuff It.
I'm sure your audience is looking up cigars on ice right now. I'm just putting it in here. Urban Dictionary. Okay, ready? Okay. It says beware while reading. It just says beware while reading.
Oh.
Yep. So it says cigars on ice is a phrase used to describe a man taking a cold shower. And it's like it's cut off, but if it does actually open up, that's what I'm telling you. Cigars on ice is. So, and it literally says beware while reading.
Welcome to Warrior Rhythm, people. Beware. Beware while singing.
Beware while singing.
Beware while singing. Jeans? Our song Jeans?
Yes. I mean,
it's just
it's sultry, but I mean, I don't know. Does it say anything graphic?
It's just so, let's see, what does it say that's kind of like, it goes, no, it's not graphic. No.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean,
sexual.
You fit like a pair of jeans or whatever. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
It's sultry and sexy, but like you would, the cigars on ice. I mean, it just doesn't sound like anything's,
No, it sounds benign. It
does sound very benign, but then
it sounds like you could say it in church, but
well, apparently, they certainly wouldn't know what you're talking about if you say it. Like I said, I'm like the biggest food. I was like, what on earth? What are you talking about it? Then I'm singing it.
So did you ever tell your class about it? Probably not.
No, I did tell like a friend of mine who takes my class, and I was like, do you remember me singing this song? Like, oh my God. And she was like, oh.
We should ask the Warrior Rhythm instructor group. Do you know what? But we're not going to, because we don't want to open that can of worms in that Facebook group, but I would be curious to know. My guess is they don't know.
There might have been a discussion in there. There might have been a discussion in there, because remember with the there's been talks about songs and stuff. I think I might have put it in there.
I feel like Diva probably knows what it means.
Probably.
Okay, wait, I'm going to call her right now and
What's your confession?
I don't have to confess.
That's
your job. Hold on. I'm going to call Diva and ask, but hold on. Hang on.
Because mine's like not opening up. It kind of cut off. Cigars on ice, beware while reading.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me see. Hold on. We'll see if she's going to answer. Hold on, podcast. Hang on. I'm going to put you on speaker. 1 second. Okay. You're on my podcast. I'm podcasting with Printon. You're podcasting. Printon. Can you hear her? Nicole, can you hear her? You can't? You can't hear her? What, Diva, talk louder. Hold on. Talk louder. Can you hear her? You can't hear her?
Oh, I just heard that.
Okay, listen. Wait, hold on. Do you know what the expression cigars on ice means?
I mean, I don't know directly.
Okay.
Educated guess.
Okay, well, we just needed to know because it was part of Nicole's confession. I'll call you when we're done.
So,
bye.
It finally came up here and it says, cigars on ice is a phrase used to describe a man taking a cold shower to relieve his boner.
There you have it, family. Now
we are always looking to make the Confessions of a Group X podcast audience smarter, and that is what we have just done.
I thought you were going to say spicier, but you smarter.
Smarter.
Okay, until next time. And if you guys have topics that are of a nutrition vein that you want Nicole to tackle, please let us know. We are on Instagram at Confessions of a Group X. That's just the letter X, not EX. Group X instructor. You can just kind of let us know if you have any topics you want us to cover. And then we'll take you on a journey.
Yeah, we would love some suggestions.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining in on the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. If you're interested in becoming a warrior instructor, go to warriorinstructors.com. But if you want more and found this episode amazing, please give us a rating. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. So remember, be brave, be bold, be blessed. And above all, listen, learn, love.